Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's that time again that I read you a few of my poems from A Patriot's Journey, Forging Hope. This is volume one. I'd just like to apologize. Yesterday I didn't come out with any chapters, and it's because I was on a podcast called Off the Cuff with Dustin Heisey. I know I probably butchered his name, but once again, if you look up the show Off the Cuff, it's also on my Facebook page, Instagram, and um, Twitter account. I'm trying all these different platforms. I'm trying to get as much attention as I can to this cause, um, because I'm not trying to do it for a selfish reason. I'm not. Man, the only people that can make a lot of money off books is like people like Stephen King and stuff. I'm just doing it because you know what? If somebody buys my book, I'm using those royalty funds to buy another book. So it's basically buy one, donate one. And I think this 22 days is very important. I think that um, it's something I hold near and dear to me, just because I had a really good friend commit suicide, and uh, I wasn't able to reach him in time, but hopefully I can reach somebody else. And if this book just reaches one person, it just paid its whole weight in gold and makes everything that I do from here on out worth it. I mean, words can't express to me the amount of joy that I would receive just hearing just one person say, "Hey, you changed my life." Um, I know I have um, participated in so many different groups. I'm at Point Man. That's a religious-based veterans group, as well as first responders and police, firefighters, EMTs, people like that. As well as I'm in the Combat Vets Motorcycle Association, and most of the members there are Vietnam vets. Um, but everybody likes to act tough until you get them alone, and you're just like, "Hey, how you really doing? Like, come on, be stripping honest with me for once in your life." And you'd be surprised how many people are just like, "Hey, man, I can't lie to you. I've had better days," and they start opening up little by little. And trust is something that is earned, and people don't understand that when they say, "Hey, go to mental health, go to get some counseling." Man, people don't just jump right into counseling and spill their guts to the first person that listens. I mean, it takes me weeks, if not months, for me to trust my counselor because, I usually just get passed on to the next one. So why should I open up to this one if 8 weeks from now I'm getting another one anyways? So I'm gonna wait till I have somebody more stable, somebody I can open up to. I mean, maybe I'll give them a little BS of, "Oh, hey, this angers me so," um, just to kind of help them feel good about themselves. But when they're trying to tell me, "Hey, read this chapter in this book," it's like, "Hey, bro, congratulations! I've already read these books. I know what chapter you're talking about. Yes, I already did the worksheets. Yes, I already did the CBTs. Yes, I already did this." It's just kind of annoying and repetitious that you know sometimes you gotta get away from that game plan and come into a new one. So that's when I started joining Point Man, and I have received more from Point Man in this religiously, loosely based religious group than I ever did through the years of counseling. You know, maybe that's because I'm religious and I put my faith in Jesus and God, and I know that He's going to be there for me and help me out. And I know some people might get offended by hearing me say that. Well, that's too bad. I already told you I'm not PC. I don't do this for you. I am doing it for me and for the other people that it will benefit. So if it doesn't benefit you, then sorry. Maybe next week's episode will be a little more touchy feely for you. Um, but so yeah, once again, I want to apologize. Just look up that podcast. It talks about my book. It talks about uh, basically a lot of different things. It's kind of like an open conversation between me and the host there, and some dialogue between us. And he's a veteran as well, so he can understand where it comes from. And I had some people wanting to donate money so I could buy books and give them to people that can't afford them, and that's my whole goal. So, um, like I said, if you can afford a book, If you buy it, then that's good, and then I have the money to buy an author's copy that's cheaper, and I can donate that. Um, so I just want to thank everybody that comes out or listens to me and supports me, and just as time goes on, gets to know me a little bit better and see how the inner workings of this individual sitting before you, um, thinks and feels. Because I am more than meets the eye. I am quite the quandary. Um, but with that being said, I am gonna get back into the poem reading, and this is called "Recognize." To be emotionless without a choice is like being born with no voice. The words that are said are mostly mean. You do acts of service so you can have your heart seen. You're still taught the difference between wrong and right. Even if you think I'm coming off way too strong, or right and wrong, even if you think I'm coming off way too strong, this is part where you're in a catch-22. You want to help, but you don't know what to do. Society says men don't let your feelings show. How can a man learn how to properly let things go? The answer is to bury your emotions deep down. Could cause you to snap at everyone around. I think a real man can own his fears, even if it means shedding lots of tears. I've tried so many things to mask my pain. I'm surprised I'm not locked up with the mentally insane. Remember my lines, you have to heal. First learn to start how to feel. It is something drinking drugs and pills can't do. Have faith in God and start anew. So recognizing is knowing the difference between what your own personal interpretation is of a man and what society deems a man is. And you know what? In my opinion, a man isn't just somebody who works on cars and grunts a lot and drinks beer and, bosses around his wife and, smacks around his kids. My interpretation of a man is that complete opposite. My definition of a real man can sit there and he can admit his fears to his wife. He could go to his wife because she's his other half. A lot of times, like in my case, the better half. And she helps me through these hard times. She is my anchor, my support. Without her, a lot of things I would do, I would just be lost. I would probably be that normal definition of a man and just want to just go out and smash people's face in. Because it's a lot easier to get angry and just hurt somebody than it is to actually use your brain, come up with the words that are meant to be heard by somebody else and actually portray what you're feeling. And it's difficult because it shows humility. You're swallowing your pride. Your ego's going down. You're shown vulnerability that is not very manly. And if that's the definition of a man, then I don't even want to be one. I'd rather be that other guy that puts all of his faith in God and has his wife helping him with stuff and doing all that other stuff. Being a part of the family. Not, you could be a head of the family and still be a part of the family. You don't have to act all alpha and think that's the only way to get ahead in life. I mean, that's just backwards thinking. That's very, my daughter's very, my oldest, Delaney, she's very, I teach them to be strong women. And you can't be a strong woman if somebody's beating you down every turn you get. So I teach my kids, hey, you stand up for what you believe in. Keep in mind there's going to be consequences for your actions, but you stand firm. If that's what you want, then that's what you do. And you have to recognize that it's not going to be the norm all the time. Okay. So, with that, the last one is called Start Feeling. I hate when my emotions don't match the act. It's like a bunch of opinions with the wrong fact. Life is tough for everyone, so be a man. Just calm yourself down. Don't you understand? There is one thing for me, no is true. Hiding from your feelings will never do. Asking for help is a battle within itself. It is very rewarding, just not in wealth. The war you want to win is waging on in your mind. The question for lost people is going to be left behind. I'm going to start at the last place that I went to war. It was a place of confidence. My confidence was shaken to my core. People trying to kill me was a hazard of the job, I know. There's a lot of thoughts and feelings I can't let go. Those cowards didn't respect anything that they do. Women and children basically locked up like animals at the zoo. Instead of sharing stories of how I had so many tears, I just racked up as many bodies as I could over the years. So being in the military and going to all these third world countries like Afghanistan and Iraq, women are poorly treated. They're used for procreation, not for procreation only. Um, they do basically everything, from childbearing all the way up through to making sure everything in the household is done. The only thing the men do is they go out and they sit around and they talk and they smoke and they do whatever they do. Um, and then they come back home, and if they don't like the way things are done, they abuse their wives, they abuse their kids, because they're just property. And if say your property, say you got a daughter that's 12, 13, now that property is old enough to auction off and to sell to somebody else, and it could be somebody else's problem now. And out of that, you're going to get a dowry from it, or you're going to, whatever is their tradition in that tribe, because it's all tribal over there in Afghanistan. And with that, especially as Americans, or I'm gonna use just me for an example, I walk over there and it's hard not to just smash these dudes' heads in. The way that they just grab their women by their throat and just kind of throw them into the house. If we go walk by the town or whatever, and they even look up for a second, man, somebody in the family that's male is gonna just backhand them and start kicking them on the ground, because they are not supposed to look at any other guys but their husband, and that's what they deem respectful. And if they go out and a guy's there, they're supposed to be completely covered, and it's completely different than the way that the American mentality is. And so it's really hard to draw the line, especially with your belief system versus their belief system. And you got to keep in mind that 80% or 85% of that country is illiterate. So the only information they're getting is from their village elders or their sheik or whoever is teaching them their sermons and Islamic religion and reading of the Quran and stuff, and that's who's mentoring them. So if this guy says, "Hey, do this, this, and that," well, that's what they're gonna do, because that's what they think is right, because that's what's told and that's what they believe Muhammad said, and so on and so forth. So they're doing the right things, not knowing that there's other ways of living, and that's just one of the I guess downfalls of living in a third world country. You don't have access to all this stuff. Um, But the sad part is, you just watch these dudes. I've seen kids get just basically a log smash this little dude's head in because they were fighting over a soccer ball. Like point blank, dude, smashed this dude in the head, and he just dropped. And I'm just like, oh man, are we allowed to do anything? Because we're not allowed to engage. They're not engaging us, so you gotta kind of mind your own business. Um, and that's a struggle. It's a struggle to mind your own business when you're brought up and raised a certain way, and you just want to help and protect people, and you can't. It's their way of life. You just have to deal with it. And the hard part is, like I said, when it's time to start feeling, it's hard to match those emotions, because the first emotion that always comes to you is anger, nothing else. And then after the anger and after it's all past, then it becomes regret, because you got angry, and and then it becomes a vicious cycle of anger and regret, anger and regret. And you kind of have to just take your time, get through it. Once again, pray about it if that's what you believe. Talk to your wife, girlfriend, whatever. Try to find somebody to help you get through these things. The more you experience them, the easier your life will be, because then you can match the feelings to the emotions. But once again, check out the Dusty Hensey video on the cuff. I was on the video, so Thanks for listening.